Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second Hashnode Bootcamp on writing technical blogs. I'm Bruno, and I will be your host for the next 2 weeks. So you'll be seeing me a lot of these days. So let's start this bootcamp by just saying a few words about a Hashnode, what Hashnode is. So Hashnode, for those who don't know you, but probably most of you know a lot about Hashnode, but for those who don't know, Hashnode is a blogging platform for developers, for software developers, but with one catch. It comes with integrated dev communities. So what does that mean for you? It means that if you start writing a blog from the day one, or as we programmers tend to say, from day zero, so zero-based index, you will instantly get an audience because there is already a formed community around and a lot of let's say initial traffic, which you won't get, for example, on some maybe other platforms. What is also important to mention about the Hashnode is that it can connect. You can connect your domain for free. For example, it gives you that options. And the traffic source coming from Google, coming from Bing, or any other search engines will actually count that traffic towards your domain. It won't count it towards Hashnode.com, although the whole blog is hosted on Hashnode.com, unlike the other blogging platforms like Medium, HackerNoon, DevTool, and other. So yeah, we are starting this 2 weeks bootcamp, and the Hashnode is organizing this for the two main reasons. First reason is to help developers become better at technical writing, so to write better blog posts, to better approach writing technical blog posts. And on the other hand, the second reason why Hashnode is doing this is, of course, to raise awareness about the Hashnode as a product itself. So yeah, so this bootcamp is organized every 2 months. This is the second one. Unlike this first one where it was like 100 participants, this one is counting up to 500 participants. So yeah, it's growing. The Hashnode is growing itself. In the last 4 months, I think there were like 10,000 new developers registered, new blogs. So that's pretty much amazing. Yeah, so this bootcamp is all about getting better at technical writing. We will have 8 wonderful sessions with 8 great speakers and great topics. Yeah, like the last bootcamp, we will have tasks after every session. But yeah, speakers will, after every session, will give you details about that. They will explain you what you need to do. And yeah, you will need to accomplish those tasks after each session. So like you will have kind of 7 days to accomplish every task. So yeah, you better start accomplishing those tasks because yeah, it will get you accountable and it will help you on this bootcamp journey. So yeah, that would be a little bit about Hashnode. So yeah, as I said, you will be seeing me as a host. So few words about me, since we will be hanging around in the next 2 weeks. As I already said, the name is Bruno. I'm a software developer for like, I don't know, almost 10 years. Occasional blogger, let's say, not as active as I would like to be in the past recently, but yeah. Also, I'm part of Hashnode community, Hashnode ambassador, so I know the crew here, and probably that's somehow how I get into this role. Recently, I also started doing this videos podcasting series, and I don't know, I will drop some links in the chat section later, so you can maybe check. And yeah, I'm pretty much active on Twitter, so you can. Yeah, you can ping me there. I will also drop a Twitter handle. I tweet mostly about general programming, but my focus is in the hacking maker scene, creators creating your own products. So the whole podcast is in that direction. If you want, if you are interested, maybe there is some intersection with the audience here. So to cut the story short and to not waste Chris' time, I would like to announce our first session. First speaker is Chris Bongers, and the topic that he's going to present is why every developer should blog, and what are the best ways to start a blog in 2020. It's pretty much interesting topic, especially for this bootcamp. And I met Chris here. The funny story, I met him on the Hashnode comments sections. So he's pretty much active and a cool guy. You will see. He's as I said, pretty much active, and he's blogging. He has like 200 blogs during the lockdown, which is pretty much intense. And one more thing before I pass the mic to Chris, I would like to remind you that after the presentation there will be short Q&A session. So use this question section to ask a question. Don't use the chat. Use the question. So in case that chat can be crowded. So and that's it. So Chris, hi. Welcome. We are glad to have you here as a first speaker, as an opening speaker. I will now shut my mouth and hand the scene over to you.
Cool. Thank you, Bruno. And thank you, Hashnode, for organizing this and having me as a first speaker. I'm going to start by sharing my presentation because that is probably cooler for you guys to watch. So my presentation today is about why every developer should blog and the best ways to start a blog in 2020. With that, I'm going to guide you through a couple of things. First, we'll do a short introduction about myself, because I think that's important to give you a bit of a background story about blogging. Then, obviously, why every developer should blog. What are the best ways to start a blog in 2020? We have time for some Q&A, and there is a task, as Bruno mentioned, which you'll have to complete to pass this bootcamp. Very exciting. Let's get started. Cool. So as you can see in this picture, that's me and my fiance and our dog. I'm actually a Dutch guy, but I'm living in South Africa because I like the weather here better, and I love mountains and hiking. So that's kind of the reason I'm here. Recently got engaged. We'll be marrying next year in May. As mentioned, I own a dog, and I love to train my dog. So she's a little show pony. I'm a senior developer with the thinking phase, because it's one of these things as a developer that's just very hard to, put your finger on. Like, when are you senior? When are you meteor? You can have the title, but doesn't really mean you're a senior. And next to that, I'm a blogger, which I think I can call myself these days. So a little bit of a background story. I've been a developer for over 15 years. And I've done like many topics of development. So I started as a WordPress developer, which some may think is not really development, but I used to create plugins and themes for companies, so to do full custom plugins. Then I went into more PHP custom frameworks. So we build our own CMS and that kind of stuff back in the days. Then I went into mobile development for a while, and then I came back to PHP after doing mobile for 4 years, and that's kind of where the story starts. So I was applying for jobs as a PHP developer just because I liked being in that area. But since I haven't done it in, I think, 4 years, you feel kind of like, behind. You're not on top of your game. You go to interviews and they have silly questions or tasks for you to perform, but you do it in a certain way that's no longer the standard or not the modernist thing. And it kind of annoyed me, because it's like, well, I'm pretty sure I can do whatever you want me to do. Maybe not like in your preferred way. Doesn't mean I don't know how to do it. And that's where, I think blogging really comes in handy, because these days I'm back into mobile development mainly, but my blog helps me so much in keeping track of all the things that are happening. I may not be an expert in many topics, but I just like to keep up to date with everything. So for those who've seen my blog, you'll see it's a big variety of things. It goes from like the non-techie things, so about interviews and just your everyday developer issues you may encounter, to very specific Angular topics, very specific PHP problems, just things that pop into my head and I want to research just to keep on top of it. So without further ado, let's get started on the actual interesting part, why every developer should blog. So that is all of you. And you're on Hashnode, so you're probably already blogging, but maybe you signed up and you haven't really started yet. So I'm going to guide you through some main points of why every developer should blog and what it can bring for you. So I think the first and almost most important part for me personally is to stay on top of your game. As mentioned, I felt really, like I wasn't a good enough developer. People will speak about imposter syndrome, which is this in essence. It's just you thinking, but I'm not good enough for this job, or I can't do that as good as someone else can, which I still think from time to time. Funny thing here is I'm also mentoring some people at my company, and so they're like students, but they can program way better than I can, in technical terms, whereas I will have more of a higher level overview of how a system should work, but I can't in detail do what these guys do. I mean, the level of expertise from a new student is just way better. So that's why, one of the reasons you should blog, just to stay on top of your game. It's a big topic because you want to improve, and doing projects or tutorials is one way of doing that. But the best way is to write it down as well. It helps you memorize this stuff better. It helps you research the stuff better. There's just so many advantages, and you don't have to make it big. You don't have to make a full application in React to, learn React. Just take it slow. Take one part of whatever it is you're trying to research and write about that. That in turn will get you either motivated about it or makes you think like, well, maybe that's just not for me. It's also fine. But then and you didn't spend half a year making a fun project. So that for me is the main reason. Another reason why you should blog is because it will improve your reading skills. You might think reading skills, but yes. And why is that? Because if you write a blog, you have to proofread your own thing. You have to read other people's blogs. You have to do research. Like, okay, what I'm gonna write has to make sense. So this will improve your general reading skills, technical reading skills, but also in general, like how you interpret things. And that in return will improve your writing. So if I look back at some things I wrote 200 days ago, which doesn't seem that long ago, and compare that to the things I write now, it's way different. I mean, you get structure, even silly English kind of grammar things, because obviously English is not my native tongue, but they improve. You know, it's a game of learning and improving. You don't have to be good at it from the start, but you'll get there. You know, when I started, I think the most important thing for you is to not focus on it has to be perfect. Just write it, and it will, you know, become better over time. Another thing that I wanted to mention is time management. I thought about how to put it here, because another word could be consistency, but it's almost wrong. What I mean with time management and why it makes sense in blogging is because if you decide to blog, you're gonna have to set some boundaries for yourself and the people around you. So, as mentioned, I have a fiance, and as you can imagine, writing every day takes a lot of strain. You know, I have a full-time job, and I have some fun project, I have some hobbies, a fiance, a dog, and I want to blog. So I have to be very clear about my time management, and maintaining a blog really helps with that. You know, it makes me make a planning for myself. So for me, it's every morning I'll write a new blog. And then in between, like my lunch break, I take 5 minutes to do some social media. After work, I do a little bit of that. But I also plan in time to spend with my fiance, watch movies or go for a hike, you know, walk the dog, train the dog, that kind of stuff. And, you know, having the blog really helped with that. I'm not saying you should write every day, because that is literally the worst idea I ever had. But I'm now, you know, I need to stick to it because I chose a silly domain name. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be daily. It can be a weekly blog. It can be a monthly blog. It doesn't matter. But set like a consistent time frame, because it will help you, especially in the beginning. You can decide if you want to change it over time. If you think like, well, I decided every week, but it's a bit too much for me, then don't do it. I mean, it all has to be fun. Then another thing why you should blog is because learning in public is so important these days. It's about getting out there, getting over the hurdle of expressing yourself, but also getting validation back, which I think is the best thing ever. I'm pretty sure some of you guys will know Sean. He's a very good blogger and writes a lot about learning in public. He is a pro advocate about learning like that, because it's basically free learning. Imagine you go to school. In most countries, you have to pay for that, or you do a Udemy course or whatever course. You have to pay for it, and it you know, it costs money, time. You have to go somewhere. You have to do stuff. But if you learn in public, right? You write blog posts, you write tutorials, you do videos on YouTube. It doesn't really matter as long as people can review it for you. So it can even be like on Stack Overflow. You take the time to properly write an answer to a problem that someone has. You can, you know, do anything you want, really. Be on TikTok, as long as you are out there, because what you'll get is people will give you feedback, and that is so, you know, generous and worthwhile, and it's the best way of learning. So some good examples here. Let's say you want to learn React and you write some articles about React, or you go on GitHub on the repo of React and write some issues you might have or things that are unclear from the docs. And the people that build React will respond to you. Like, what better way is there to learn than from the people who created something? I think that's a big takeaway in that sense. And yeah, in all honesty, learning in public is a hurdle for some people because they don't like to be out there. But even that doesn't, you know, it's not scary. People are always, you know, they're always that rude person around. on social media, but in this community of technical writers and bloggers, we stand up for each other. I found in the last 6 months, everyone's there to help each other, give you good advice on what to do, and help you become a better blogger. So I would strongly urge you to, if you not already have a blog or started writing, just write your first article and go from there. Because then we get to the last point, which is it's a promotion for yourself, really. If you were a big CEO and you owned your company, imagine, right? And you were gonna hire someone, and you get a resume, and the resume might be good on paper, but obviously you're gonna research this guy. Everyone does it. You're gonna Google him, you're gonna check his GitHub, and then he might have a GitHub account, because who doesn't? But it's empty. There's no repos, there's no profile. He hasn't done anything. Then his website is non-existing. He doesn't write. And next to it is person X, and that person has he contributes to open source. He writes comments on GitHub repos. He has a blog, for instance. It's going to sound more appealing. It doesn't mean you'll get a job because you blog, because it doesn't mean it makes any sense. But it shows people that you're willing to, learn in your spare time. It also shows you have the ability to document things really well, which I think helped a lot for me, because I didn't get my current job because of my blog. But what was a deciding factor was my ability to document and lead a team, which they then again received because I did a test assignment and I did a whole review document of it. So, that's something I learned through blogging, to do a review document for these kind of things. So in that sense, it just is so worthwhile. I also put some Google searches here on the right, as I'm pretty sure most of you already read. So some fun facts, like how many blogs exist today is 600 million. That is crazy, So to be out there and be top of that is almost impossible. But if you're in it for the money, that's all cool. For me, it's just to improve myself and improve my writing, improve my reading, to keep updated with all the technology. But again, if you want to make a business out of blogging, that's also fine. If you want to write ebooks and sell them. But as you can see, blogs are becoming more a currency, really. Everything is going to be about content and swapping content, really. Then I did a search on, is starting a blog a good idea? Well, it is, for many, many reasons. If you search that, is starting a blog a good idea, you'll get a whole list of things, which you'll obviously also now have seen in my presentation. But yeah, there's really not much of a downside to it. And then I've included how to learn in public, because as mentioned, this is actually Sean's article, as I can see. There are many ways. So a blog is one, and I think it's one of the easier ones to do, because it's writing on paper. Because I tried to do some videos, but for me that's very hard. For some people it's easier. So I think a blog is a very easy starting point. Those for me are the main reasons why you should blog. So stay on top of your game, improve your reading and writing, learn time management, learn in public, and to promote yourself. So now we'll get to the second part of this presentation, which is what are the best ways to start a blog in 2020? And this is a very broad saying, really. Also, 2020 is almost over. But let's start by going, step one is to define a topic. And I'm literally the worst person ever to define a topic, because I literally don't. So for me, my topic is to write about daily things I encounter, really. But if you're really passionate about, let's say, React, just write about React, because you have to be passionate about writing about something. If you're very passionate about investment funds, write about that. If you're very passionate about mental health for developers, that's freaking amazing. I mean, I wish I could write about these things. But to define a topic is the best way to start a blog, because it will help you narrow down. You're not like, oh, what should I write about today? You're way more able to narrow down. You know what you're going to write about. And then it's just finding topics in that specific field, which also is easier. I wrote about this earlier in the year. It's all about writing about what you as a developer encountered, really. Because think about it. If you're searching on Google, you probably have a question. So the question might be, how do I protect routes in Angular? So if you're writing in that sense, you must really provide an answer to that question. So I really look at my blogs as an answer to my own problems. That's what I do, really. So if on a day I'm working and I have to Google something, which I don't know how to do, and that happens a lot, then I'll put it on my backlog of items and I'll write about it. The second thing that you need to do is define your consistency. If you're writing your first blog and then you're like, I'll see when I'll do my next one, it's never going to happen realistically. I've been there before when I had a lifestyle blog. I tried to do every month, and then it was like, I'll do it next month. And since then, it never had an update. So that really doesn't work. I mean, you don't have to do a daily blog like me, as mentioned, but defining your consistency that you're happy with is key. So before you even start your first article, let's say, okay, and even write it down. You're going to say, okay, I'm going to do an article every 2 weeks, or I'm going to do an article every month. That's like the most important thing in starting your blog. Then obviously it's picking a platform. And obviously there's a funny thing here on the left where, Hashnode is your by far best chance to start a blog because of the benefits they provide. You have your own domain, you have all the advantages of the community. It's easy to write, it has the backups, etc. It's just, nothing much can top that. And you'll find a lot of articles about why Hashnode should be a number one blogging platform for this, and I totally agree with it. But there are alternatives. I mean, I'm not going to tell you have to use Hashnode because that's what it is. You can use Dev2, you can use WordPress, you can create your own blog if you really want to. But be careful with that, because don't end up being me 10 years ago, where your website or whatever is never done because you don't, you always want to improve it, but never go live. So, that's so dangerous. I think that's what most bloggers and developers in general struggle with, is to actually, cut the cord and go live. And that's very important. So picking a platform that does this for you, like Hashnode, it actually helps a lot. You don't have to worry about design. It looks really amazing. It works. You don't have to create your own CMS, whatever. It just works. And that helps you to focus on the content, because at the end of the day, having a blog that looks really amazing, for instance, say CSS tricks, it looks cool. But when they started, it didn't look that cool. It was focused on the content, because that's what gets the people onto the website, having the great content there. And then over the time, you invest in redoing the design or upgrading, fixing your articles, whatnot. Then a key thing is to actually publish, because if you write, you might think, this article is not good enough, or I'm going to have 20 people proofread it, or I'm going to proofread it 5 times, and you're always going to find issues with it. I think a really important part is obviously you do your grammar checks and have someone proofread it for you. I'm all for that, but then just publish it. See what happens. It's not the end of the world if you're going to have to delete it even, in the worst case, which I don't think will happen. But, just put it out there and see what people come back with. You can edit articles, there's no, it's not printed on paper where that's going to be an issue. Even I have to do it sometimes where I publish an article and then something might change or I miswrote something. And I'll update my article. There's nothing wrong with that. Also, obviously, good in if you're into the SEO game to keep your articles up to date, and make changes to whatever Google likes or content wise. The fifth thing, and I think I wrote this in a lot of my articles as well, is you have to have fun with it. If you don't enjoy blogging, then it might not be the best thing for you. And it's not to be rude, but if you don't enjoy it, why would you really do it? I mean, it's like picking a sport. If you don't like soccer, but you like rugby, then go play rugby. It's fine. Same goes for blogging. If you rather making videos or you rather presenting on events or whatever, do whatever makes you happy. I do think it's a good thing as a developer to create content in some way. And as mentioned, I think blogging is the most easiest one of them. But if you don't have fun doing it, then don't do it. It's just it's going to make your life miserable and no fun. Then I wrote X because this is something you have to do every now and then. You have to learn and improve. So you wrote 1 article, you wrote 5 articles, take a step back, look at your articles in like 2 weeks time and think like, what could I have done better? Read them as you would read someone else's article. Like, I wish he talked about this or that, or I wish, there was a better example of this. And then you go back and edit your article. Also in structure, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can go back and change it and maybe see what works better even, So for me, those are the best ways to start a blog. So define a topic, define your consistency, pick a platform, publish, have fun, and improve. I think that was my presentation so far. I'm gonna ask Bruno if we have any questions.
Yes, we have a lot of them, but we'll have a short Q&A. So let's start with the first one. Don't we need some experience to write technical blogs or anything technical? For someone who is still self-teaching and under the learning curve, what do you suggest?
That's a very good question, and I don't think you need to. It does depend on how you're gonna put your article down, right? So if you're learning something yourself, I wouldn't necessarily put it down as this is the best way to do X, Y, and Z. But you could write it down as I'm learning. Let's say I'm learning React. Learn it with me. I used to do that for another blog I wrote. Where I was writing my own CMS and I had no idea what I was doing. And people will actually tell you, have you considered doing that? So if you take that approach, you can only learn from it and make your articles even better. So definitely you can write about topics you're still learning.
Okay, second one. Wouldn't it better be to vlog, to do a video log on YouTube than write a blog? You mentioned something, but maybe just repeat.
Yeah, so that totally depends. I mean, if you're into vlogging, or you're comfortable behind the camera and doing the editing and whatnot, or just doing that stuff, yeah, go for it. I mean, that's kind of my thing. You have to do what suits you. As mentioned, I tried the vlogging and live streaming even, but it just it doesn't really make me happy because it takes a lot of time, which I generally don't have. So for me, blogging works better, but yeah, whatever works for you.
Next question. I have a hard time finding what to blog about. How do I handle that?
Yeah, so I think my main thing here is to make a list of whatever you Google as a developer, or look back at what you had to research before. What's really important here is that you don't write off what someone else already wrote, okay? Because that's where I went wrong. I was like, oh yeah, but everything's already been written by someone else. But you're gonna have your own way of explaining things, and that's gonna suit someone. Because we have billions and billions of people in this world. Someone is gonna like your style of explaining more than what the other person wrote. I think that's the most important thing. So with that, just focus on things that you experienced or you struggle with. This can be very broad as well. You could describe how your interview process went, like how you got a job, how you learned on Udemy even, just write it down. Like say, okay, I did this course on Udemy. It's really great because I learned this and this. Focus on that. But even if I have to Google how to convert a date time in JavaScript, I'm just going to write a blog about it.
Yeah, that's a kind of a nice introduction to the next question. So next question is, I write what I learn in my classes and self-paced courses. Is it a good thing, or should I say appropriate?
Yeah, so 100%. I think that's what I do. Yeah, and I've actually found a lot of people take inspiration from it. I'm not saying that's the way to blog, especially, but for me that really helps to finding topics and finding things to write about. So I think the most important thing when you blog is that you have information that you want to transfer to someone, right? So if you take that perspective, then 100% that's correct. But even better, if you're an expert in a certain topic and there's nothing written about it, of course that's 100% cool to write about. Even better, because we need new content as well.
Okay, next one. How to keep myself motivated for blogging?
Yeah, I think that is a very hard thing, even for me, because as mentioned, writing daily sometimes really gets to you where you have no new content and you just demotivated. What I tend to do is actually ask a lot of non-technical people, so like your sister, your friend who is a teacher or whatever, has nothing to do with technical business, like certain things that they would want to know, or it gets you crazy motivational sometimes. So that is one thing that helps for me personally. Another thing is that I really get excited about other people's articles. So I always if I see people doing something, and it's like, oh yeah, I want to write new content, and that really gets me motivated. So reading a lot of articles helps a lot for me. Maybe that's very personal though. Another thing to stay motivated is obviously if you share it a lot and get a lot of feedback on it, that really gets me hyped as well. So I tend to share a lot of my articles, even on blogging communities, like so Hashnode is one of them, where people will give you advice on how to improve, and that really gets me motivated to write better articles next time, or upgrade my existing article.
Okay. The next one is about English language. So how about English for non-English speakers? We write as we talk, and this is usually a mistake.
Yeah, so that's also very hard for me. Obviously, I use tools as Grammarly and Hemingway to make adjustments, but they are still they contain Grammarly wrong sentences. Because my fiance, she's obviously native English speaking, so I'll have her proofread some of my articles, and she'll say, "Ah, you mixed this sentence around," which Grammarly doesn't pick up. So probably 9 out of 10 of my articles still have those kind of mistakes in them as we speak. So I wouldn't focus too much on that, but use Grammarly and Hemingway and the tools, especially in the beginning. Because the more you write, the better you get at it. You're like, oh, wait, I make this mistake all the time, and then you pick up on it. So that's important. Another thing is you don't have to blog in English, which is very interesting, because I met this German blogger the other day, and it's actually very good to write in a native tongue, because it will come across way better. And there's people looking for certain information in their native language. So there's also nothing wrong picking a blog that's not English.
Okay. Yeah, one more question. I mean, we have some more questions, but yeah, we are running out of time. So how can I promote my article?
Oh, that's a very good one. Yeah, so obviously when you publish on Hashnode, you'll get a lot of promotion from just the community itself. So, on Hashnode, people will find your article because it's tagged with, well, obviously you have to tag your article with certain things. So that's one, tag your articles. Another one is, well, for technical articles, Twitter, I think, is one of the better shareable things. So, promote yourself on Twitter as well. Yeah, and any social media, really, depending on what you wrote. Even LinkedIn can be a good place to put a technical article. Post it on Reddit or Hacker News. Post it on. I think that's actually a very important one, is to post it with canonical. So let's say Hashnode is your main domain. You can then post it on dev2 with canonical to Hashnode. So now your article is on two massive platforms, which really helps by getting your name out there. And I think a lot of Hashnode people have seen that, firsthand, where, it will get picked up by one of the two. And obviously tools like daily.dev, which I absolutely love, will now have a lot of Hashnode articles in them. So just try and also get your article really up to standard so it will get featured. That absolutely is like a game changer.
Okay, yeah, that will be it for the questions. Now maybe you can go to your next slide with the tasks, and yeah, I will appear also later.
All right. Let's see, I'm gonna play this again. So cool. The task for this session is to create an article that would help your past self solve a problem you've encountered before. So as you can see, I'm a big fan of writing about things you had to Google. So the task here is to write an article that would solve something you've Googled before, or you've encountered before. Even maybe it's not, there wasn't a Google article about it. Yeah. So I'm really keen to see what everyone will come up with. I'm pretty sure this will help you, have a good topic to write about. So yeah. I'm not too sure if you have to tag it, but I think you'll have to post the article in the Discord for this bootcamp, I would imagine.
Okay, yeah, deadline is like on a previous bootcamp, the deadline is 7 days, so please stick to that deadline. And also certificates for the completion will be issued only to those who submitted their tasks on time. There was this one question also, but I didn't want to read it because it's on a technical nature, so I will answer it now. Someone asked, will this be recorded and available later to watch? Yes, it will be, but it will be published after 23rd of November. So yeah, after everything is finished with the bootcamp. Okay, Chris. Yeah, thanks for the session. It has really powerful messages and reasons why you should start doing blogging yourself. I put a Hashnode Bootcamp hashtag if you are any one of you, if you are sharing anything related to the bootcamp, yeah, please use this hashtag so that we can get all together. So yeah, anything else, Chris, from your side?
No, I hope everyone enjoyed this session, and you're inspired to go write some awesome blogs, which I think I've seen a couple people here as attendees that are absolutely already having such amazing blogs, and I love to read everyone's blog. So keep it up, guys.
Okay, and yeah, I would like to remind you, everyone, that we have another session in 2 days. It will be a Q&A session, a little bit different format from this one. So it's not a presentation style session. It's more like Q&A. So prepare questions. So it will be full-time Q&A. So prepare good questions, and because you will be the one who will have an impact in the whole flow of the session, and the guest. The speaker is James Q. Quick, and during that time, so yeah, do this task that Chris assigned it to you, and yeah, see you on another session. So it was nice again, nice to have you here, Chris, and thank you for everyone for participating. So yeah, bye.
Cool. Thanks, Bruno. Bye.